Spring break has officially arrived.
Time to get outside and learn a new sport or drink a new beer.
Or brush up on those beach safety tips.
Or read a new book.
All that and more coming up on Argo News right now. Good afternoon, Pensacola. I'm Sarah Richards.
And I'm Lauren Tannenbaum, and this is Argo News.
They have energy, they're enthusiastic, and last but not least, they're supporters. Who are they? Argo News reporter Jenna Halami has more on the story.
You always hear about UWF sports teams. However, what about the people who support them?
I started when I was 5 on a Pop Warner's team. It's like we cheer for football. And then I did All-Star until middle school. And then I kind of took a break from cheerleading just because I wanted to do other sports and focus on my school. And then I started back up here in college. And I really liked how our team bonding is on the team. A lot of things I observed from players, like going to the basketball games, is that they a lot of them seem like they really love the sport. Like they want to be there. They want to be helping us, helping with our school to win the games and everything. And I feel like they bring a positive attitude on the court too, and I also know some of them off the court, and I think they're really good overall athletes. And I feel like what we do is we really support them to try to cheer them up. If they're losing, we're kind of be like, yeah, let's go Argos. The number one question I always get is cheerleading's not a sport. Yes, I think it is definitely a sport. Those are athletes, we're athletes, we work just as hard as any other athlete. We have practice, we have games, we have to condition like every other athlete, and we have to be strong. We can't just be weak or nothing would go up and stuff, and I feel like most people don't take that in consideration. We have to lift people, that takes a lot of strength, and also we have to tumble, jumps, dance. So it's a little more than just cheerleading, it's also gymnastics and corporations with it and dancing. So it's more than just, it's multiple kind of sports jumped in as one for cheerleading. And I feel like people think oh, you just cheer and stay on the sand lines, but no, it's more than that.
UWF, go, fight, win. I'm Jenna Halami reporting for Argo News.
After all that energy, I think I need a drink. Let me ask Najee Moye where I should go.
If you're ready for a beer, why not come down to Pensacola's own Pensacola Bay Brewery?
We basically take raw ingredients, crushed malted barley, hops and yeast and the water, and we create the sugar water from that, and then the beer subsequently comes from the yeast. Homebrewers can usually start off with what they call kits, where they actually empty a syrup into a boil pot on the stove, mix it up, add it to a fermenter, and in 14 days they have beer as well. The kit form is actually taking what I do in my brewery and synthesizing it down to a real user-friendly format. So that's pretty good entryway to start brewing. That's how I started about 30 years ago, brewing kits, and then I gravitated towards brewing with all grain because it's cheaper and you have more control over the process. What we do first is we'll bounce the ideas around on what we may want to brew or may add to our lineup, and then there's plenty of documentation on how the style for that particular beer would work. So we go research that and find out what the flavor guidelines are for it. And then we'll bounce ideas back and forth. I got another brewer that works with me full time. We'll bounce ideas back and forth. I've got a few other friends until we get a good idea about what we think the beer should be like. And then we go into figuring out the ratios of what types of malts are going to go into it, what type of hops are going to go in it to achieve that style, and of course the yeast as well. All those things are important for the particular style. Difficulty, certainly there's a lot of work involved in if you own a business, because your time becomes the business's time. Dealing with personnel like any other corporate structure, you got the personalities and all that go along with that. Right now, the biggest thing that's going to happen in the near future will be our 12-ounce bottling. We're going to come out with 12-ounce six-packs of 3 of our branded beers, our Little Napoleon IPA, our Lighthouse Porter, and our Riptide Amber. We'll see how that goes, and then after that, there may be something else.
The Pensacola Bay Brewery has been providing Pensacola with great beer since 2010 and hopes to be continuing that tradition for many more years. I'm Najee Moye, reporting for Argo News.
Speaking of beer, spring break is officially here. Time to get outside and try something new. Argo News reporter Shannon Hemmings has more on the story.
Over the past few years, a relatively new outdoor sport has blown up not only here in America, but all around the world. Do you know which one?
The community is just growing. It continues to grow with this awesome sport, and around the world it's getting bigger. Like, they have races now in Switzerland, and they have them in Washington, all over the country, and they have a couple in Africa, all over Europe, and it's really crazy how much it's blowing up. Like, I can promise you it's going to be an Olympic sport really soon. It's blowing up that much. It's really awesome.
According to a DePaulia article, longboarding is often a way of expression, exercise, and stress relief.
Like, my butterflies are like running in my stomach. Like, I get nervous and I'm just ready to go. Like, I just want them to say go, and it's a really exciting feeling. But right when the person says go, or like the little gun goes off or whatever, everything just goes away. I stop thinking about like how I need to take this turn, or like which way I should go, and just becomes like a stream of like unconscious movements that my body just does naturally, and like there's nothing like it. Like, I just get in this zone where nothing else matters except being in front or passing the person in front of me, and then afterwards I finally get to breathe. It's just like a really awesome weight just gets lifted off my shoulders. I'm just like, wow, I just did that. Like, I landed the run, like I did good. Like, I either won the race or I didn't. It's really cool.
While longboarding has continued to grow in popularity, some have shied away due to the dangers.
Buy a helmet first. That's very important. You will fall, and you don't want to hit your head. It's very important. But just next thing, just have fun with it. Like, don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry about looking cool. Don't worry about any of that other stuff. Just go out there, push around, have a good time, and just skate safe.
If you're ready to get outside, be active, and have a blast, longboarding just might be for you. I'm Shannon Hemmings, reporting for Argo News.
The summer is almost here, and that means our beaches will be packed as always. Reporter Seth Patterson has more on beach safety and lifeguards.
Do you have what it takes to be a lifeguard?
We have 3 flag colors, actually 4. There's green, yellow, and red, and those address the surf and the currents. So green means generally calm surf and currents. It's typically, we put a green flag up when it's flat and there's not much wave action, there's not much currents, not very many rip currents, if any. Yellow is broad. It goes from just above green, to it means moderate. So it could be, just above green, there's a little bit of waves, a little bit of currents, to just below red, where it might be really rough. And then red out here is rough surf, dangerous surf. And here on Pensacola Beach, red flag means no swimmers are allowed on the water. The 4th flag is the purple flag, and that we put up for wildlife. Typically we only put it up for jellyfish, when the jellyfish waves come in. Tourists and beachgoers, for safety, the #1 thing is rip currents. Rip currents are the cause of 80+% of our drownings out here, and more than 80+% of our rescues take place in rip currents. So for safety, the #1 thing you can do is to swim near a lifeguard. You should always swim near a lifeguard. And then when you're near a lifeguard, you can ask the lifeguard where the best place to swim is, because they can tell you, they can point them out, they can point out where the sandbars are, they can point out where the rip currents are, they can tell you exactly where you should swim or not. Other than that, swim near a lifeguard and wear sunscreen and drink water. So this season, we're looking to get more team members, more lifeguards to staff our beaches season. We're looking for people 16 years old or older to come to our tryouts. We have tryouts March 15th at 7 a.m. at the UWF pool. The tryouts consist of a 600-yard swim in 10 minutes or less, and then a 30-minute break, and then a 1.5 mile run in 12 minutes or less at the UWF track. We have some requirements. Those are, you have to be 16 years old and older, you have to have your Red Cross lifeguard certification, and you have to have the ability to get a driver's license.
For more information on the Pensacola Beach Lifeguards and how to become one, be sure to check out www.pensacolabeachlifeguards.sharepoint.com. And that's the way the lifeguards rescue. This is Seth Patterson reporting for Argo News.
Student organizations are a huge part of UWF undergraduate life. One of the newer organizations on campus is already growing and succeeding and has big plans for the future. Reporter Lauren Tannenbaum has more.
Have you heard about one of the newest organizations on campus, Collegiate 100?
The Collegiate 100 is basically a developmental organization. We take a lot of young men on campus and teach them professionalism, time management, discipline, try to change your thought process a little bit to be more abstract and more critical thinking. The best part, I'd probably say, is low-key some of the perks. Like I've been able to go to City Hall and have a meeting, Chamber of Commerce, president of our institution, Dr. Bailey has kind of given me the springboard to jump into a lot of other things and be a little more political, a little more diverse. We host a lot of events, everything from philanthropy events to more social events. We've had our 100 week, which we have a social. We had a more of an art type of thing, which was open mic. We had a forum discussion about relationships. We have men talk groups. We had a Speak On It, which is basically we got hosts from Panama City to come all the way out here to host a Speak On It event with AKO about domestic violence. And we really bolstered that up and worked with a couple of departments on that. Qualifications, 2.5 GPA. You have to at least remain 75% active between our events, our meetings, and whatever else that we hold, including our mentoring. As well, you have to be, it's not really a specification by the Constitution, but you have to be driven. You have to be dedicated because we get a lot of requests as of late, apparently, about doing mentoring, about doing community service opportunities. So you have to be able to manage your own life and time and classes, along with the load that we do have as an organization, which is pretty big right now. We're not funded by SGA. We raise all our own money between dues, our pageant, and fundraisers, bake sales, TCBY, Spirit Night, and whatnot. So it's character building.
If you would like more information about Collegiate 100, please contact Collie Richardson at kjr25@students.uwf.edu. I'm Lauren Tannenbaum, reporting for Argo News. Every day, more and more technologies change the way that we live our lives. Argo News reporter Max Nadsity has more on the story.
The new normal of digital disruption is coming. Will you be ready?
Basically, it's when anything that we now do needs to be done differently because of technology. So a good example might be WebExes have replaced the conference call, or the various apps that businesses are using now for people that are salesmen. Salesmen used to be able to fill in a report and send it in as far as their calls, their sales, their successes. Now, with many of them using Salesforce.com, it's all app-driven and it's all time-stamped. So when you come into the office and sign up, it knows where you are, it knows when you're working. So digital disruption is anything that disrupts the way humans do things. I have done this workshop probably for about 10 different years. Digital disruption, the year of digital disruption is this year, the year of digital disruption is this year. And finally I realized that we're in a period where we're going to have many years of digital disruption. So I've changed it around to help people learn how to deal with the new normal, which is digital disruption. So what I'm trying to do is just come up with some things that I'm noticing on the scene that are going to change how we do things, either how we live, how we work, how we play, and what people can do, knowing that next year there's going to be new digital disruptions. Now, when you hear people like me who are engaged in this talk, maybe I'm overly optimistic that it's going to change that quickly, but the change is coming.
The new normal of digital disruption is already proving to be a vital part of living and succeeding in today's world. I'm Max Nadsity, reporting for Argo News.
Speaking of technology, I think I locked my phone and keys in the car.
Losing and misplacing keys seems to be a common problem for a lot of people lately. Argo News reporter Amanda Diamond can help you out on what to do when this happens to you.
Do you ever lose or lock your keys in your car?
I've owned Ace Unlocks for the last 17 years. We're a full-service locksmith. We've served the greater Pensacola area for that period of time, Pensacola Beach, even Milton, Perdido Key. We're primarily an automotive locksmith, but we also do commercial and residential. We do residential rekeying for homes. We also deliver and install safes. Commercially, we rekey businesses and also do access control. As I said before, we're primarily an automotive locksmith, and to be clear, the industry's really changed. When we started in 1998, we were just we weren't even fully in business at that point. We didn't incorporate till later, but the point is keys were a lot different back then. They were just mechanical pieces of brass that you stick in an ignition or your door and drive away. Now you're dealing with full out computer chips, and what that means is not only do we have to cut the key, but we have to program it. And every year, make and model is different. So you may have a Ford or you may have a Hyundai or a Nissan, but what we have to do is to keep up with all year makes and models and all the programming on all of the above. Frankly, we stay up on it. It's a big deal, but we also service, or actually we cut keys for all the dealers here in Pensacola. Enterprise Rental Car, Avis, we really do stay up. So when the new models roll out, like right now, we're in 2014, we're already cutting keys and programming keys to the 2014 models. We do roughly between 50 and 60 calls a day. We are also the primary service provider for AAA, which is a big deal.
So if you ever lock your keys in your car or lose your keys, call Ace Unlocks. I'm Amanda Diamond reporting for Argo News.
Hey Lauren, what's your favorite kind of music?
You know, I really love Tupac and Biggie, but I like Tim McGraw too.
Well, did you know that WUWF hosts a free acoustic concert every month? Reporter Savannah Taylor has more on the story.
Everybody loves music, but here's one concert you haven't heard of.
Radio Live began in 1988. In September of 1988, it was a part of the inaugural celebrations for Dr. Morris Marks, who was the incoming president at that time. And it started out as a one-time thing. We just wanted to come up with something entertaining and fun to do as a part of his inauguration, and people loved it and said, hey, you need to keep doing this, and so it became a monthly occurrence. When we first started it, we decided we would do it on Thursday nights, once a month, the first Thursday, so people could remember which one it was. We decided right from the beginning that we wanted to feature mainly singer-songwriters. And the key was we didn't want any cover bands. We only wanted people performing their own music. And that just opened up a whole world to us because there's so many fantastic songwriters out there who write for some very famous and successful artists, but it's great to hear them sing their own songs. Right at the beginning, we decided that this was going to be a free event. We weren't going to charge anybody because we wanted everybody to have access to it. We wanted anybody in the community, regardless of their economic status, to be able to come to this show. But we felt like we ought to do something to even give back more to the community, so we came up with the idea, well, why not have people bring canned goods from Anna, and that's their admission. So people feel good about that. They're bringing something, they're helping another organization, which is a very worthwhile organization, and then they get into the show. It's a very intimate setting. We do the seating in the round, and the audience and the performers are both on the floor. We don't have a stage. They're not up on a stage. The front row is about 3 feet from the artist. We have 3 artists or acts, and they each do a set in the first half of the show, and then they repeat and each do a set in the second half of the show. And then at the end of the show, we have them do something together. At the end of the show, they mingle with the audience. They'll talk to the audience. There have been times where audience have stayed there an hour after the show just to talk to the artists, and they autograph all their CDs. And so it's very much hands-on for the audience.
If you missed your opportunity to attend, don't fret. Just be sure to catch the next one. I'm Savannah Taylor reporting for Argo News.
You've probably seen lots of creative ways to raise money for charity, but a group in Pensacola has grown in the community, literally and figuratively. Here's Sarah Richards with more.
In the Pensacola area, there are organizations far and wide. But have you ever heard of an organization that supports the hairy?
The Amarcoats Beard and Mustache Alliance started as a joke. It was a group of friends, started a Facebook page, and it's grown exponentially since we started. And it's not just a fad or a trend. Beards and mustaches are actually a lifestyle. The Alliance has several events during the year, but we found that testicular cancer is an issue that is not just prevalent in our area, it's actually prevalent nationwide. And so 2 of our events a year are dedicated to creating awareness and donating to Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation.
The American Cancer Society predicts almost 9,000 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer in 2014. The Alliance raised awareness through the Half Hairy for Charity event last November.
We have an event coming up in March. It is our 1-year anniversary. March 25th, we're going to hold a membership draft and a beard and mustache competition at the Crown Plaza. We're also going to have a tour of the Crown Plaza, which will include the very exclusive Howard Taft Room.
William Howard Taft was the 27th President of the United States and one of the last to sport facial hair, while the presidents before and after him were mostly clean-shaven. The Alliance also has meet and greets and open mic nights that serve as a way for beards and mustaches to come together.
Well, the open mic night was one of our first events. Just like we noticed there's a lot of beards and mustaches in the area, we noticed that there's a lot of talent amongst our beards and mustaches, and we wanted a place to showcase it. This gives us a good time as a meet and greet for people to see what we're about and see if they want to join, and it also allows a platform for our members to showcase their talents. We started with like 30 guys, and now it's so many people we don't even know if there's going to be time for everybody on stage.
Emerald Coast Beard and Mustache Alliance events can be found on their Facebook page. I'm Sarah Richards reporting for Argo News.
Hey Lauren, I must ask you a question.
And what would that be?
Do you know how UWF managed to interview a president born 150 years ago? James Miles has the answer.
UWF is offering a way to learn about Teddy Roosevelt from the man himself.
And Teddy Roosevelt is portrayed by a guy named Joe Wiegand. Joe had been portraying Teddy Roosevelt around the country. 2 years ago, the White House celebrated Teddy Roosevelt's 100th anniversary. And though they had a number of events, they restaged his inaugural address and other things. And Joe was Teddy Roosevelt for those kind of things. He's in character. He talked like him. He's very knowledgeable. And so our presenters are capable of doing that. They're capable of taking any topic, modern or in the past, and capable of explaining it through the eyes of the person that they're portraying. And they're also capable of explaining why they would portray it that way. If the portrayer is a quality one, after a while you forget that you're in the room with someone else. That person becomes the person that they're portraying. You can't shake from your mind the idea that maybe you are really with Abraham Lincoln or you really are with Marie Curie, because the presenters assume that role. It makes the learning much more effective. It makes the people come alive rather than just reading about them in a book or seeing them on the History Channel or things like that. It also enables you to talk to somebody that knows the subject in such a way that they can also answer these other kinds of questions. Why did Teddy Roosevelt do this? Why do you think Teddy Roosevelt did this? Help answer those kinds of questions.
So you see, you don't have to be a history major to learn about your nation's history. I'm James Miles reporting for Argo News.
You know, I have a good book about Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh really? Can I borrow it after you read it?
Of course. Reading is fundamental, no matter who you are. Graham Clark has the story.
Everyone loves to read, but not everyone has the chance. Pensacola Open Books seeks to change that.
The people who started Open Books back in 2007 realized that prisoners had a hard time getting good reading material. Most prisoners are poorly funded as far as their library goes, so we felt like the people who started it felt like it would be good to supply them with reading material to improve themselves while they're in prison, so when they get out, they will have a better chance of succeeding in society. We're nonprofit, we're all volunteers, so our book sales basically fund the operation, pays our bills, plus contributes toward the postage of mailing the books to the prisoners. We also depend on donations from the general public to help us with mailing the books to the prisoners. Prisoners are always writing us when they request books, and they're always writing us telling us how important it is for them to have reading material. It improves their quality of life, it improves their educational level, so it benefits them greatly. Well, really, it's a wide variety of books that are asked for. I mean, from all types of novels to how to self-help, dictionaries and thesauruses are in great demand. A wide variety of books. Well, the best way to help is come shop, buy books, contribute books, volunteer to pack books. We pack books every Wednesday night from 6 to 8. So we need volunteers to help pack the books to actually mail to the prisoners. And just frequent the bookstore and become part of the bookstore.
No matter who you are or what you've done, everyone deserves a chance to curl up to a good book. I'm Graham Clark, reporting for Argo News.
You know, after I finish that Teddy Roosevelt book, I might finally give Harry Potter a try.
Speaking of Harry Potter, the Quidditch Club here at UWF has taken a fantasy game normally played on flying broomsticks and turned it into a game playable in real life.
The Quidditch Club here at UWF has taken a fantasy game normally played on flying broomsticks and turned it into a game playable in real life.
Unfortunately, physics has not reached the point where we can fly, unfortunately, yet. But so we just run around with a broom between our legs, and it's awkward at first, but you get used to it. And there are 7 players.
On each team.
Tell me if I'm wrong. 7 players, 3 chasers, and they try to score. And then a keeper, which is pretty much the goalie. And then there's 2 beaters, which are defense. And then there's a seeker, and they have to catch the snitch, which in the Harry Potter universe is a little ball about yay big, but in Muggle Quidditch, as it's called, it's a person dressed in yellow with a tennis ball hanging off the back of their shorts. We get our broom. It's just a PVC pipe, about 58 inches.
You can get regulation brooms, but they're expensive.
And they break a lot easier. This is a lot more sturdy. And then we have hoops, which can be anything from I've heard people who said that at the beginning of getting their club together, they had chairs, and those were their hoops. We use hula hoops for right now, and we're in the process of getting regulation hoops.
We're gonna get them by the beginning of next year. We're excited.
We're in a tournament called Wolfpack Classic, and that was in New Orleans. And then I think the other one was called the Renegade Cup, and that was over at FSU, and we actually got 3rd place in that one. Well, we start with warm-ups, and then we do drills. If we ever had enough people, we do a couple scrimmages.
We've done a couple.
Yeah, we've done a couple of scrimmages where there's 1 chaser and like 1 beater and a keeper. But as soon as we get enough people, we'll do a full 2-team scrimmage.
And if you would like to join the Quidditch Club, you can email Club President Rory Youngs. I'm Rebecca Bartley, reporting for Argo News.
March means it's time for the FCAT here in Florida. Argo News reporter Daniel Lynham has more on the important subject that isn't tested.
Students are familiar with standardized testing in math and science. But what about social studies?
We're a fast food nation, and I feel like that's what we've done in terms of education. My undergraduate degree was in psychology, sociology, and Christian education. And then I received my master's degree in religious education. And in the process of that, I got my doctorate in ministry degree in Christian education from Drew University in New Jersey. And then about the time I finished that, I came out of church education and back into social studies education. That is a result of No Child Left Behind. And No Child Left Behind started a movement. We became very concerned that as a nation our educational levels were behind other developing countries, and so we needed to rethink how we did education. And right or wrong, those people at the time decided that the way to do that would be to establish certain standards and then hold teachers and students accountable for achieving those standards. And the only way to see if they had achieved those standards were through standardized tests. And so the FCAT and other sorts of testing became the model by which what was taught in the classroom was driven. Education is just simply more complicated than here's what needs to be taught, I'm going to teach it, and then I'm going to test it, and if they get it, then we move ahead as a nation. It's just way more complicated than that. That in the emphasis on technology and science and math and technical information, that we lost social studies and all of the disciplines that fell under that. So we see a trending toward realizing that by eliminating social studies from testing, eliminated it from being taught in any serious way, particularly in elementary school and as well as middle school and high school.
In recent years, social studies has fallen by the wayside, but its importance is slowly being recognized, and it is only then that we'll be competitive with other countries around the world. I'm Daniel Lynham reporting for Argo News.
The FCAT might be in March, but Relay for Life is in April. Let's check in with Bradley Letourneau for more on the story.
A lot of different organizations participate in Relay for Life. Let's check out how Pi Kappa Alpha raises money for their charity.
Pi Kappa Alpha philanthropy is Relay for Life. Sarah Norman, our sweetheart, had cancer in high school and she carried it with her when she went to college just to get awareness out in the community about it and support it. Pikes on Bikes for our chapter at the University of West Florida, it's our second annual time doing it. We have done it the past year with the University of Alabama at Huntsville, and this year we plan on doing it with the same school, and it's a great time, great awareness, and it's a great way to raise money for charity. The most difficult part with Pikes on Bikes is trying to arrange a law enforcement escort because of the fact that we have to go through 3 different jurisdictions, and just trying to acquire that is a little bit difficult. In order to help out with this, we've contacted law enforcement, spoke to them, and we have had help with them trying to arrange an escort. That way we can, arrange for Pikes on Bikes to get smoothly run down to the beach. Pikes on Bikes raised last year $1,000 towards Relay for Life. This year we plan on reaching $1,500. It's an attainable goal, and all of the proceeds would go to Relay for Life.
So if you're into cycling or giving back to your community, you should check out Pikes on Bikes. Remember, it's March 22nd, hosted by Pi Kappa Alpha. I'm Bradley Letourneau, reporting for Argo News.
If you enjoy softball and supporting a good cause, then Argo News reporter Nicole Campbell has just the thing for you.
A group of college students has stepped up to the plate to strike out diabetes.
Alpha Gamma Delta's official philanthropy is the Alpha Gamma Delta Foundation, which encompasses the American Diabetes Association. And we also support the Manna Food Bank in downtown Pensacola and JDRF, which is Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. We have a registration fee which helps the teams donate to our cause. We have concession food available for purchase, which also goes into donating towards the Alpha Gamma Delta Foundation. And sisters are also required to find a sponsorship to help raise money as well. In future years, I definitely think we should reach out to our community more through radio stations or TV networks and local newspapers to try to get the community more involved. It's important to the chapter because we're giving back to our foundation, what we are passionate about, and we have a couple sisters who actually have diabetes, so seeing them excited seeing us wanting to help cure this disease is amazing, and I personally think it's a very great cause because it kills more people in America than AIDS, but it's not talked about like AIDS. So we're working towards a great cause that will hopefully won't be in the future.
I'd say this event was definitely a home run. I'm Nicole Campbell reporting for Argo News.
You're supposed to be wearing helmets in softball. Let's see why SGA was wearing helmets this week. Here's Argo News reporter Christopher Thrasher with more on the story.
A number of buildings on the University of West Florida campus are in need of attention. The university is holding a Hard Hats for Higher Education rally. A number of faculty, administrators, students, and community partners are speaking to a crowd at the event to generate support for efforts to receive additional funding from the state legislature through sources like PICO.
PICO is Public Education Capital Outlay. It was written into the Florida Constitution back in 1963, And it originally was funded by gross receipts tax, things on utilities, communications, your telephone line, those kinds of things. The problem has been that the gross receipt tax, along with the number of people who have phone lines and things like that in their homes, is declining. So that source of funding for PICO is declining. And as the last couple of years, they've had to put some general revenue dollars in to support PICO projects, they being the legislature. SGA has recently had the Hard Hat campaign, along with all the other state universities. The students are very involved.
These events are part of a coordinated statewide effort.
Yeah, they are. They're happening at every public university, USF, UCF, UNF, and they're all taking place on this day around the same time, so around the middle of the day, and they're all taking place in either buildings they want to renew or buildings where most students will be there to be able to attend. So it really is an open event to anyone, and we hope that as many people as possible can attend. We've cleared out a lot of space, ordered a lot of food. The unison behind it is really what makes the impact. UWF by itself doesn't have a lot of weight, but with UF and UCF and UNF all backing the same initiatives, that's where we can really count on or rely on state legislator response.
The universities of Florida hope that by working together, they can gain access to funding that will help them address the needs of their students. I'm Christopher Thrasher, reporting for Argo News.
UWF's counseling services recently put on an event called Love Everybody. That's 2 words. Here's Argo News reporter Joanne Broxton with more on the story.
UWF's counseling services offers help beyond their everyday appointments.
The Love Everybody event is an event that we put on here for eating awareness, Body Image Week, and eating disorder, I should say. And we decided to put this together and call it Everybody, Love Everybody meaning body, to educate students here that to love their bodies, and that what we see every day in the media is not real. Everybody has a different body structure. Everybody is independent in their body structure. Thank goodness we're not all clones. And the media table was excellent in showing that, like Dove Evolution. If you've ever seen that video clip, it's all photoshopped. And this is what we're aspiring to look like, are people that are not even real. And so that we were trying to convey to the students here and to employees and staff, to them, that we need to be happy with what we have, because what media is showing is not real. Mary Jo Harden, who is another counselor here, she's also our expressive art expert. She did that table of was the hands. Everybody was, and then they'd write something very positive on the hands and they glue it. That was a huge success. We had a media table, we had an eating disorder table, we had blood pressure. I mean, we felt that we brought many people out to show that it doesn't matter what size your body is, to be happy with what you have.
Make sure to keep an eye out for upcoming counseling services events. I'm Joanne Broxton, reporting for Argo News.
Every semester, the UWF Theater Department produces plays, but this semester, UWF has selected a play based on true events. Here's Jordan Grinnell with more on the story.
Every semester, the UWF Theater Department puts on plays.
All of our plays are selected by the faculty as a group, and the way that it works is we all bring in our individual ideas for what we think would be good for the season. I brought this one in because it's a show that I've loved for a long time, and I think it's not done very often. For good reason. It's very challenging in a number of ways, but I thought that our students were ready for it, and I think it's a really exciting story that I am attached to, and I think everybody else has become pretty attached to it as well. Musically, it is certainly one of the most difficult scores I have seen. Sondheim has a reputation for being the most difficult musical theater composer, and Adam Gettle, who's the composer of this show, he is not far behind. He's certainly influenced. And the other aspect that I think is challenging is the depth of the show, really. From an acting standpoint, there's a lot of meat to this show, and it almost feels to me like it could be done as a straight play. Even if you took all of the music out, there's still so much there to relate to and to grab onto as an actor. So the emotional content of it, connecting to the high stakes of all of the circumstances, it's very challenging from an acting standpoint. What I wanted of the cast is I wanted people that were going to be able to handle this difficult music, but that we're going to be able to bring some real acting chops to this show, because the music almost doesn't work on its own if it's not informed by real intention and real grasping of the circumstances of the play. But I really think this is about family. This is about the big questions in life that are sometimes unanswerable. It's really a play about relationships. So it has that great dichotomy that it has something to say, certainly about the journalism and that whole media coverage aspect of it, but it's a human story.
So don't act like you're trapped in a cave. Check out UW's production of Floyd Collins. I'm Jordan Grinnell with Argo News.
You know, I used to act when I was a kid. Maybe if I kept at it, I would have enough money to buy a yacht. Did you know yacht clubs have been around since the 1800s? There has to be more involved than just boats. Here's reporter Corinne Williams with an inside look.
You may have heard of yacht clubs, but what exactly are their perks?
The name of the club is Grand Lagoon Yacht Club, and we are located on Gulf Beach Highway, southwest Pensacola, near Perdido Key. My husband and I have been members for about almost 14 years.
I have been a member for about 6 years, and my favorite part of the club, other than the people that are here, is the fact that you can come in any time, and so you always know someone here. My role is Commodore this year. So as Commodore, you oversee basically the PR side of the club.
We have a lot of events. We go very few months during the year that we don't have some special night, some function that we have.
In February, of course, the 1st of February, it was Super Bowl. We had Valentine's party. We just got over a Mardi Gras party. We have a dock party during the year. We have Christmas activities, all the major holiday, we have activities. We are a private club, and our members are, it's okay to bring guests, but you have to sign in as a guest and you have to have a sponsor to come to one of the events here. We do have weddings and parties and retirement parties and different events like that, as long as they're sponsored by a member.
The Grand Lagoon Yacht Club is a lot more than a place to store your boat. I'm Corinne Williams, reporting for Argo News.
And that's our show for today. I'm Sarah Richards.
And I'm Lauren Tannenbaum. Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.